How you been?
Well, I realized this morning, as because I woke up and then I saw your message and I fell back asleep and then I woke up again.
Yeah.
And I realized that I came to this epiphany that, that's the right word, that the only thing that I really give a shit about is food.
Right. And you can see why, right?
Admitting that before, and as soon as I admitted that, it's like I didn't even care. Like the fact that my house is not clean didn't even bother me anymore. So I guess that was like the one thing I was not facing was that. That really is the truth.
Yeah. Food has been your life. Remember with that? There's a few sessions I was like, you married food. And food became your biggest, like, rescuer, enabler, hand holder, became your mom, you know. Supplemented what you hated about your mom or what you wanted from your mom. It became everything for you. And then, so we have to kind of break up to some degree. You can't have the same relationship for those emotional reasons if you really want to, you know. Want any hope? Yeah.
Well, it's like you said the other day, you said, I wasn't binging. You said I wasn't binging because it was life-threatening. And now that makes perfect sense. It was because, you know, it had to be, that's why I never, well, that's one reason. I mean, I give it up, you know, I try to give it up for, so I can, if there's an event or something I want to go to, but that's why it's so hard is because I don't really care about anything. It's like, I was trying to get through the day yesterday, and it's like, I was just so, like, I don't know what the word is, but, like, I was just so uninterested in anything. I then I went to get my car. I went to get my car. I was on this, like, I could not stop thinking about how everything was messy. So I went and got my car detailed, and not detailed, but I got it cleaned. I got it like a half detailed, so they can offer, you know, services. And so it was really dirty. I haven't cleaned it in a long time. It actually needed to be cleaned.
Yeah.
And when I got it, I didn't recognize the car. Anyway, they didn't. This is so embarrassing. When I got my car, they had moved my seat. And I couldn't get in my car because the seat was not adjusted.
Oh, yeah.
And when I adjusted it back to where it was supposed to be, it still wasn't correct.
Mm-hmm.
And I couldn't, so I was like, okay, well maybe I'm just like, and I looked at it and I was like, that's not enough room. And I hit the thing and it wouldn't go back anymore. And I was like, this is weird. Is this my car? So I looked at my car. I'm like, yeah, this is my car. So I got in my car, but I barely sit. Like, I had a really hard time driving my car home.
Mm-hmm.
And when I got home, I was just panicked because I'm like, I can't drive my car. Because, like, you know, there were a couple times where, I mean, I was worried I was going to get home. And so as I pulled myself out of my car, I was just so upset.
Yeah.
That was so embarrassing. And I was looking at my car, I was looking at all the little things. And I just started to panic because I couldn't figure out how to fix. I was like, you know, I was thinking, there's got to be a way. I mean, this is ridiculous. I mean, if it fit, I didn't gain 20 pounds in an hour.
Yeah. There's something wrong.
And there's something wrong, and I could not figure it out, and that really upset me. And so then I thought, well, and then my cat was out of cat food, and I'm like, if I don't go now, I'm just going to be, like, hysterical if I don't, because I can't get in my car. So I pulled myself back in my car, and I went to this store, and I got out of the car, I played with the adjustments, still nothing. Still couldn't get in my car the way I got in my car before I took my car with me.
Yeah.
So I got the cat food, and I was so upset, and I mean, I can't tell you how. And when I was in the pet store, I couldn't remember the kind of cat food that my cat eats.
Yeah.
And that started to really freak me out. And I was like, what is wrong with me? And so, I mean, I was just having a meltdown. It's like I couldn't. So anyway, I got home, And finally, last night, like after I calmed down, I went on YouTube and I Googled, you know what I mean? I searched for the adjustment
on your car.
In my car, because I looked when I was at PetSmart, I looked in the owner's manual and there was no help. Well, so I finally on YouTube I found this adjustment that I never even knew existed on my car that raises the seat up and down.
Oh,
and
yeah. Okay.
I don't know if my car has that. I haven't been out yet because I was like, oh, well, that's it. I went to sleep. So I'm going to go back out there. But I didn't even know.
Yeah, they probably adjusted it up and you need to push it down.
Because when I got in the car, like, my head was almost at the top, and I'm like, So, these are the challenges that, I face because of one of the challenges that I face all the time. Anyway, it's
part of, but you can see it now as part of the consequences of your relationship with food. Like all of this, everything you're talking about, your embarrassment, it's all because of your relationship with food.
Yes, which leads me to the bigger problem that I'm now consciously aware of, which is that I don't know, now I just don't know what to do, because, I mean, honestly, I just, it's like, there's nothing that brings me joy, like the food.
Well, you would have to, it's not terrible to admit, I think it's awesome that you're seeing this clearly. To me, this is huge progress. Heather, this is huge. Because you're seeing it. Like, no shit. I shouldn't complain or even be surprised about my life and how my body is when my relationship with food is everything to me. If I get rid of food, there is going to be such a huge void or vacuum in my life that I'm going to have to figure out. Like I'm a baby. You're going to feel like a baby. Right? What do you do with your time? Well, you have to learn. You have to give yourself freedom. Can you see you've kind of become trapped and you're holding yourself hostage with food and your whole entire life is empty outside of it because you've never really thought to fill it up?
That's interesting because when I was I lost 175 pounds in my 30s. I was in the food addict program, and the reason that I left, one day I was in that program, which by the way they don't blame everything on the food. They do talk about fear, doubt, and insecurity.
Yes, of course.
Fear, doubt, and insecurity.
Yeah, if you're.
Anyway, I went to get my hair done one day, and I was sitting in the chair, and the lady said, "So what do you do? What do you do for fun or stuff?" She just makes a conversation, and I was like, I thought to myself, all I do is go to meetings and talk about food addiction. And I was like, I can't live like this. I was down to from like 400 pounds to 245 pounds, and it was like, and I was just sitting there thinking, I can't. I mean, I'm like, I was thinking that this program's been great because, I had at that point I had some, I had some physical recovery, and I knew how to get through the day without eating. But what was getting me through the day without eating was calling all these people and talking about food addiction all day long.
Yeah, like a new codependency. It's like you just transferred the problem. You never really addressed it.
And even though but I realized that then, too, that I didn't really realize that food was, I don't know what to do.
Well,
I guess just knowing that,
It's huge, yeah. That's a big deal to me.
It's a big relief. It's a big relief, but...
Well, now you can, again, what this is going to do, Heather, is it's going to get you to really hone in on if you want freedom, what has to change and what you have to be willing to experience. You have to be willing. If you want freedom from food defining this life, you're going to have to surrender it. And to a degree, right? To a degree. So you can actually, and to do that, you're going to have to face the underlying fears that you've never really faced. The fear of not being good enough. We've talked about this. The fear of, not being able to handle your emotions or your life, or, what is it that's underneath this food? It's, again, you clearly have a relationship with food that has become everything in your life, but it's not about the food. It's about what it does for you. It's about its protection. It's about what it does for you. It's not about the food so much as it is about the role it's playing, the relationship. Think of it as a relationship rather than just a substance. What does that help you kind of understand that? Because right now you're realizing, well, yeah, food is everything to me. Is it the food or the relationship, right? What it does for you psychologically, what it does, what it symbolizes, we could say food is obviously pleasure. It tastes good, but that's what percentage of that is why you're eating.
I don't know. It's relief. It's like having a party.
Celebration, yeah.
Celebration, party, joy, relief, happiness.
Well, all of those, you could say all of those emotions that you're feeling come from, if they were to be removed, right? What is underneath that? Relief from what?
Not having an interest in anything else, or not feeling like I can contribute to anything or anybody really cares about, or that I have anything to offer.
It gives you,
world.
It's like purpose. Yeah. So if you don't,
Purpose. That's exactly what it is. It gives me a purpose.
Yeah, which is what? Gives you a sense of belonging.
Yeah, social. Well, it's kind of like a really bad replacement for social interaction.
But you're using it for that reason.
Yeah.
So it's okay to say that. You can see it now how dysfunctional that is, and how it actually isolates you in the long run. So.
Yeah.
But in order for you to recover, you have to surrender those things. You have to surrender the use of this relationship. You cannot afford to use food to supplement social interaction.
Yeah.
You're supplementing all of these human needs with a substance, and you're not really getting much out of it anyways. You're really not.
Well, I don't know how
You don't.
I don't know where to go to fit in socially.
Well, hold on a second. You just need to start with whatever you're capable of. So I want you to understand something. Every time we talk, and I'm going to tell you this so that you're made aware of it. You always follow up with, but I don't know how. Where does one start to know how? Correct. Yeah. Yes. You just have to start. So you either, because you think you have to know prior to, I should know. That's why you're not doing shit, because you actually don't know. But you have to be willing, because you just have to be willing to be a kid. You're a child. Let yourself be a kid. Here's what I remember thinking in my head: either I commit suicide and I don't get the option, or if the grace of God allows me a second chance and I reincarnate, I got to start as a baby anyways. So either I finish this life starting as a baby as a 20-year-old or a 40-year-old, or I end the life and gamble, because I don't want to live like this anymore, So you can either do it now with whatever time you have left to figure it out, learn, explore, enjoy whatever life you have left,
Yeah.
Or you can just keep on doing what you're doing.
Yeah.
Because that's
well, that's simple enough.
Right? Because if you keep on doing what you're doing, you know what you got.
You know, I found this lady on, I think she showed up in my Facebook. She's another genius person like you, and she does this, I've always liked to dance, like always, and she's created this, you know, there's all these fitness people out there that do this stuff, but she has this program, or this dance thing that, like you can tell her genius is through dance, because she has this, she just wants people to move.
Yeah, feel
good. She has created this high energy, but the movement is like she tells you to. The genius part of it is that she gives you the beat, and then she tells you to move your body the way that you want to.
Yeah.
And the way that it's. So I saw that. I just thought of that because I got her little video, and I was like, and I did it, and all I had to do was walk. You know, but the way that she told you how to walk, I mean, I could only do like 2 minutes before, I mean, it felt like every muscle in my body was worked.
Oh,
and that's
awesome.
the genius part of it.
Yeah.
Like the way, I don't know how she does it, but she gets everything moving.
Yeah.
In one little, and it's not high impact, and it's fun.
And
like
it's fun. So that's exploration. Yeah, there's so much cool stuff out there for you. You don't have to necessarily go to a gym. YouTube is huge. And that's what you can do right now. And what a gift. That's a gift. Wasn't that awesome to have that experience? So that's the beginning, is you feel in your life, you start to treat yourself like a child that needs to be given the freedom to explore themselves and their life. And you know what? You just do it with what you have today. You do it with what you got today, because that's all you got. You don't sit back and say, well, when I lose 200 pounds, no, you just start right now.
Right.
You start right now, because otherwise you're still holding yourself hostage, which is actually promoting this relationship with food. So if you want to open your life up and start anew, you want to start over? Right? That's kind of where we're at. That's where I had to go. That's where I'm directing almost everybody. You have to surrender to the reality that the way that you've lived this life has been a total and complete failure. And I say that without criticism and non-judgment. But would you...
No, I get it.
Yeah, so you got to go, okay, I'm done. I can't do it this way anymore. It's clearly not going to get better the way I'm doing it. It doesn't get better. Nothing changes. Things obviously get worse. So maybe my strategy in this lifetime, I wouldn't do it the same way. Right? I wouldn't be so defined by my body, and I certainly wouldn't relate to anything so closely as I have with food. I don't want to relate to a religion that way. I don't want to relate to shopping that way. Alcohol, any type of substance. I don't want to be dependent. Well, it goes beyond that. Codependent, where I rely on it to feel neutral. Just neutral. You know? Food just gives you the sense of, okay, we're good enough.
Yeah.
You know, you shouldn't have to need that much just to feel neutral, right? And so when you remove the food, what's going to come up are the reasons why and the desires you have and what it serves you. Because it's, again, food isn't serving you physically. It's serving you psychologically, right? So in order for you to recover, you're going to have to willfully surrender what you're getting from it. You're getting protection. You're getting relief. You're getting it defined. It is you have used this one thing to define your whole identity in life. And so when you remove it, what should you expect to feel?
Grief and boredom and restlessness and uncomfortableness.
Vulnerability. You're going to feel vulnerable. You might be a little scared. You might feel a little naked. Exposed. Yeah. Would you agree exposed is a good word? You're going to have a sense of being alone.
Well, I feel I have that
I know, but you are supplementing it with food as a temporary distraction.
Yeah. Sorry, that's the mechanic.
I can't even hear it.
Okay.
Right, and so if we can jump off this cliff, you can jump off this cliff, which is what it's also going to feel like. Like, I'm going into a whole way of being. I don't even know what that is yet. Right? It's like reinventing yourself, reinventing your life.
Yeah.
So what do you expect that to feel like? It's going to feel like you're born again. Like, I don't even know what I want in life, but you do have a sense of enjoyment. Like, you knew you enjoyed that woman's YouTube videos and it was fun for you. There's enough information right there with, okay, that's fun. I'll do this. What else would be fun? I like good music. Awesome. Get into music. What else can you do? Do you like to knit or crochet, or is there stuff you can start exploring? Just give yourself options.
I like music. I like live music. I like to, when I was a kid, I liked to write music, but I don't even remember what the heck, the chorus.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's something you can relearn. Just go online. Again, YouTube is your best friend. Go find lessons. Learn how to play guitar. You have infinite potential around just finding joy in your life so that you're actually living again. Because you really haven't been living.
No.
Right? So you can see food it's not the food. How you related to food, how you've used food it may have given you some illusion of safety and security, but what it has actually done is completely stopped your life from moving forward. You've been on pause for a very long time since you were a child. On pause. Right?
Yeah.
So you kind of need to break up. You need to break up with food for those reasons. You have to choose. I will never use food to protect me again. I want to take responsibility. I'm never again going to push responsibility onto something other than my heart. And that's really what I want you to hone in on right now is you've given away your responsibilities. The responsibility to entertain yourself, responsibility to, develop emotionally and feel emotions. You haven't taken responsibility for that. Or ownership, right? You haven't owned it.
Well, I think just being able to consciously realize that, that it really is the only thing. I mean, because I would never have admitted that. My uncle, who I haven't talked to in years, like I called him like a year ago because he was in the hospital, and we talked for maybe 30 seconds before he said, so we're going to talk about the elephant in the room, and I'm like, what are you talking about? He said, your weight. I said, what? He said, are you still fat? And I said, yes. He said, well, you must like it. And I just hung up on him. I mean,
you didn't understand.
I literally hung up.
Yeah.
I didn't literally hang up, but I was like, okay. Because it just was like.
Well, that was asshole. That was an asshole thing to say to you. And not only that, but it was super ignorant and judgy.
And, yeah, so.
But to some degree, we could say you care more about food than you actually do your life.
Well, in one point, the way he did it was, yes, he was mad at me because I haven't seen him, I guess.
Yeah.
But he's kind of right.
I know. That's why I was like, he was an asshole. He was judgmental, and he overstepped boundaries. That's none of his goddamn business. But you're right. You didn't ask for that. You're paying me. You're paying me to tell you those things. Not your family member.
Well, I guess you're working. So.
Well, it's because you're in a position with me of you were asking for my guidance, and so when you're in that position of willfulness and humility, you're actually open-minded to be told what you're missing, like where you're lacking. And so when someone else just blurts it out to you, it can come across, even if it's true, super judgy, putting you down. It can really trigger self-defense in your part. Because you want to feel good with and relate well with people. And you and I relate on this level. Right? Anyway, so you were saying
I stay away from my family because it seems like, well, what's left of my family, because it always seems like, anyway, that's another.
Well, the thing is that they actually care about you, and there's probably concern, but the truth is, no matter how much concern anybody's had for you, the reality is that food has been, you've related to food in such a toxic way that benefits you that you're not going to change what's going on. Doesn't matter how big you get, you're not going to surrender what you're getting out of this relationship to please someone else's opinion.
Right.
No matter how concerned they are.
I just moved away. I moved to another state.
Yeah. Well, and that's part of that is, again, the victim positionality that you've commonly taken, which is they suck, I'm out of here, fuck you, right? But then there's the other side of it, which is this is so important to me, I don't want anybody's opinion. I don't want their opinion. Because I'm not going to change. So you go into denial. Deflection, right? Because you're not ready to give it up. You're now at the point where you're like, okay. And now you're aware of what you're giving up, right? You weren't even aware of what you were going to have to give up. Clearly you thought I have to give up food, but you weren't aware of the symbolism that food plays in your life. The role, the relationships. Like, this is not about food. It's about what you're getting out of it emotionally. And you got to give that up. It's not the food you're giving up. It's that relationship with food you're giving up. It's using it to hide yourself, using it to pacify your time, using it to have something to do, using it for those reasons, the reasons why you're eating, not what you're eating. That is such a huge distraction. Right? It's why you are eating. That has to be surrendered to God.
Yeah, I have to, and it's more than that. It's how I look at the world. Like, that has to change as well, because
Yeah, your perceptions of yourself and others and how you relate. You need a do-over. You need a clean slate. Now, we can't give you a clean slate physically, so you have to forgive that aspect. But if you can give yourself a clean slate with a body that is limited, and you can adapt to this body and say, this is good enough for me, I'm in it, I will handle it, and I'm not concerned about what happens from here with it. That's not my problem to deal with. I'd rather give my mind and my soul the freedom to actually live the life I should have 40 years ago, to the best of this, to where I'm at today. Right? I'm not saying you need to go back to second grade, That's the coolest part about this. This is the best part. You do not have a mother to tell you what to do. You don't have anybody telling you what to do. That's the coolest part about coming to this as an adult. You can become, and you can believe, and you can have feelings that are yours, and no one else can tell you what you should, unless you give them the power, right? To tell you what you should and shouldn't believe. You have all the freedom in the world right now. And also the cool thing is you've been so you are socially conformed. You do get social graces. You're not like a 2-year-old that's going to go pee outside or poop outside because, right? You've gone through so much conditioning already to where as an adult, you can assimilate into your reality and at the same time, give yourself the freedom to be real with yourself and be truthful about, and to figure out what the truth is and to just explore. And it doesn't stop. This is the thing. I gave myself this freedom 20 years ago. I'm still exploring. I still am to some degree. It's like I'm still that 4-year-old, right? That emotional 4-year-old. Now I'm in a 41-year-old body instead of a 20 or 21-year-old body. I'm still like changing and evolving and like, you know, I'm not doing the same thing forever for 20 years. I've evolved so much in such a beneficial way.
Yeah.
Right? I don't want to.
Well, that's good. I mean, what's really what you're supposed to do.
Right? And so when is it your turn? When do you get to do that? When do you get to leave this hostage environment with food that you're clutching onto and become a real person, like a truthful sense of yourself, right? Are you really being truthful about who you are with the world?
Probably not. But I don't really know who that is yet,
so well, that doesn't.
I just realized today that I was, you know, I don't know.
Are you food? Is your reality food? Is that true? Is that really what your life was meant to be about?
Oh no, of course not.
Well, feel that for a second. I really want you to feel that out. Is this life, the whole purpose, meant to be about food? What is your purpose?
Maybe I was supposed to be a chef and I just got confused.
Who knows? But you would have a sense of it within your heart. Is food supposed to be what this entire life was dedicated towards?
Well, no.
I don't think so either. Do you want it to be towards? Do you want this dedication and everything about your life to be dedicated to gripping onto food?
No.
So if you want that freedom, you have to let go what you're getting out of it. The only way you're going to do this is to surrender the benefits, these psychological benefits that have been so beneficial, right? That you had no life and you're completely defined by it, right? So you have to be able to, and the other part, not only do you let go of those benefits, but you are going into vulnerability. You're going into, I don't know what else exists. So it's not like you're giving it up for something else that's better or that you're aware of. It's not like, well, I have what I have and I found something better and I'm going to do that. That's not what we're suggesting, right? What you're getting is either I'm letting go of this and I don't even know what I'm going to get on the other side. It's blank. It's like I have to redefine it. I have to repaint this picture. I have to recreate the life I want. I have to be the creator of it now. Before, food created it for you. Now you're going to take responsibility and you're going to create it. And it's blank. That's our goal.
Yeah, it's funny how, like, the last couple of weeks I keep going back to things that I was interested in when I was a child, like the computer class and was interested when I was, stuff that kids do now when they learn, like coding.
Yeah.
You learn when you're a kid now. And what else was it? I can't remember. But anyway, yeah.
And it's the process that we're describing in that you're literally preparing for this, right? Can you tell we're kind of prepping you? It's like germinating like the seed. We're trying to get you to make the move, right?
I don't know. Every time we talk, I'm surprised. I'm surprised. I'm thinking. A lot of times when we talk, I'm like, I don't know what to do now. And by the time, as we go through, I find it. It's like you're like the door opener. Like I don't know where.
Well, I'm trying. Well, and that's okay, and that you could say I'm just a guide. I'm not going to tell you what to do, but I'm going to say here's an option. Have you thought of it this way? Open yourself up to what this is. Because otherwise you're really just going to keep on doing what you're doing and you're going to die. Well, like we all are, but this is going to be what your life was about. When you are actively dying, Heather, in the process, when you realize in an actively dying situation where you know this is it, you are going to look at your life and ask, what was this about? I want you to really think about that question, and I want you to answer it.
Well, all I know is that we're not here for that long, and that I don't know what anything means. I mean, I look at people that have passed on, and I'm like, what was the purpose?
Well, I want you to ask that about your life. Like, I want you to imagine and really feel this as if it's real. Let's just imagine you're actively dying right now. You can tell, okay, this is it. And you have, let's say, 48 hours. Would you eat the whole time?
No.
You probably wouldn't touch food at all. Right? So when people are aware that they're dying, they go through a process of reconciling. There's a grieving process. There's a, no, I'm angry, I don't want to die. And then there's the sadness of the truth that I'm dying. And there's sadness and grief. And then there's processing from there. Right? There's acceptance because this is it. So you go through, and can you imagine going through that right now?
Yeah, I would probably think about the people that have helped me or tried to help me, and wish I had thanked them.
Yeah, you would. You would send that into the you would be. I'm so grateful. The gratitude. Oh yeah, and that's what I call you're reconciling those relationships, right? I would do the same thing. Who really is important in your life, and wanting to express that to them, just how much you love them or appreciated it. That is, I love that you went there. You're correct. You would do that. And once you feel like you've done that and you've gone through that thought process in your mind and you have, reconciled or closed those relationships in your mind, what happens next?
I would probably make sure that everything is in order so that.
Yeah, you would.
Whatever I have would be.
Okay, besides that, let's say you've already done all that. That stuff is done, and you're starting to go through in your heart and your mind, think the gratitude and reconciling those relationships. Once you feel like, all right, there's no other relationship out there that I need to put closure to, and you are now, it's just you and your body. It's just you until until the body is done. Now what? Where does your mind go?
I guess I was thinking about what is next.
What's next? Or have you ever thought that you might want to look at your past? Think about this lifetime. You skip that part.
Yeah, because it's just been so sad.
Well, if you don't look at that, what's the likelihood you're going to bring it next? Look at what has happened.
Well, it says there's an next. How do we know there is a next?
We don't.
We don't know that.
We don't, but are you willing to risk that? Bring whatever you're avoiding in this life to the next one just in case? Are you willing to risk that just in case?
Okay, well, I guess I would say
I need you to really do this truthfully. Meaning, I take it serious. Imagine you are actually literally dying. You've gone through all that.
I try to, but it's kind of hard.
I know. I can tell you just you went out of it. I need you to come back in because we put you. What would happen if you knew you were actively dying, and everything you've said so far is absolutely accurate. Everything you have said is like you are actually, yes, that is what you would do. That's exactly what you would do. Then there's a point at which when you're done reconciling relationships and it's just you and this body, where do you go after that?
I don't know.
You go. Just think for a second. I want you to do this. I know I'm your guide, but I want you to feel this because be realistic. If you were dying, would you not look at your life and what this has been about? Would you not acknowledge this life? Would you not go through the history?
Most of my life has been about letting people go, like letting people that I care about go, and trying to try to just accept that their path does not include me. It seems like I do that over and over and over again. And in the meantime, it's like I get lost because I just try to hold on to it, and then I have to let go, and I don't know what to do with myself. It started that's been the pattern. It just like with my brother and my father, I had to let them go because they left. And then I had to let my grandfather go because he got sick and stopped paying attention to me and didn't want me bothered. And then I had to let go of my best friend in high school because she got a boyfriend and I didn't, so we weren't on the same level anymore, and she just disappeared. And then I had to let go of my mother because she got sick and she wasn't herself anymore.
She died early.
And then I had to let go of. It's just a constant letting go of people. It's like maybe I wouldn't put so much value on. God, I don't know.
No, you hit it. Just keep on going. Don't leave this. You just got it. Maybe
I wouldn't put so much value on. Like those feelings that are associated with having people in my life.
Yeah, needy.
That became my whole world.
Yeah, you wouldn't be so reliant, maybe so dependent.
Yeah.
You would be more self-sufficient, maybe more.
I would focus on things that impress me, like what people like you, for instance, in your work. I don't mean I really do feel that way. So creating something I guess that's what I would become maybe more interested in, what I can create and offer, or what I can create, and what how people feel about me.
Yes.
Or maybe or helping people realize, or seeing gifts in other people and helping them,
celebrate. You would, you would,
them, or
you would be
next maybe I'll be like an agent. No, next lifetime, if I'm not if I'm not talented or an artist or like that, if I don't have those talents, I could be like the person that promotes, or the person that does have the talent and the ideas or whatever.
Well, to do that, don't you agree? You would have to have a willfulness to be truthful about your feelings. You'd have to put yourself out there. So that's something you haven't done. You've always kind of held yourself hostage. So what you're describing is the willfulness to just be real and allow yourself to express your truth. You would stay connected to your truth and you would express it no matter what someone else's opinion was. You wouldn't be so defined in letting others run your life. You'd be
or dependent on other people to make me feel good.
Yeah, you wouldn't.
It would be more.
I love that, what you just said. Love it. You wouldn't be so dependent on letting others define your life. You would stay true to your soul.
Yeah, I've always wanted, like, if I always wanted, like, if I had a bunch of money, I would go invest it in, like, people that were creating, like, startup companies.
You'd be a hedge fund. So
like,
I want you to stay. This is really important because what you're saying is you would accept your reality and you would express it. You wouldn't rely on someone else's opinion. You wouldn't neglect your truth and allow someone else's to take over.
Yeah, and I noticed that I do that with, like, there's my partner at work. Like, I always let him take over because he has this such intense need to be the star of the show. And I just let him because it's like it's painful for him not to, and I can see that. And it's like I want him to be,
Yeah.
I would rather let him do that than suffer through the drama and the difficult relationship that we would have if I didn't. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So if you could do this life over, how would you do? Would you do it different? Would you be more forgiving and not, because it sounds like you're really quite forgiving around his crazy needs, but are you feeling resentment because of it? So would you be, so I want to stay focused on this because we have 10 minutes and I want to make sure that we're really honed in because I think where you're headed right now in this thought process is going to be really, really important for you when you start your life over. Because what our goal is here, Heather, is that you start doing what you wish you could do. When you look back at this life and you're like, man, I wish if I knew what I know now, I wouldn't be so dependent on others to secure me. I wouldn't be so dependent on anything, really. Of course, dependency is normal. We depend on, but codependent, you wouldn't give up your heart, your soul, your freedom and allow something else or someone else to live it for you. You'd want to live within your truth. You'd want to be your true self. Even if someone were to judge you, knowing what you know now, would you internalize that judgment and change yourself? No. Knowing what you know now, you'd be like, oh, well, you wouldn't take it serious, their criticisms. You'd be like, the truth is the truth. This is where I'm at. If it sucks, so be it. I'm not going to change myself so that you can approve of me. I approve of myself.
Yeah.
Would you say that would be a good way to describe it? You would be self-approving.
Yeah. I wouldn't be so afraid of not living up to others' expectations.
Right.
Because that wouldn't be my identity. It wouldn't matter. It wouldn't be the source of it wouldn't be the reason I get up in the morning. Because that's pretty much kind of how I am now. It's like I get up, the food, but before that, the underlying.
What's underneath that food is this.
Is this strive to please, to do what other people want me to be and for them to have approval.
Right, and that's a lot of pressure, and that's a lot of feeling inadequate. That's a lot of fear, and sense of, shame in there too. I mean, and that you could say all of those negative feelings that you're harboring within yourself come from the fact that feel sucky at getting other people's approval. All you've experienced is rejection to some degree,
Well, it doesn't matter what you do, even if you do everything you want another person wants. I mean, they're their own person, and they don't.
Shouldn't it be their responsibility, not yours? Shouldn't that be their responsibility to take care of themselves? Yeah. Why would they, So by you accommodating or trying to change yourself for them, you're essentially their slave. You're living your life dedicated to what their needs are, not what your needs are. You're living your life as if your life is theirs. They own it, and you should do what they want, right? You're a slave to someone else's life, and you have what? Nothing, right? Don't you agree? You would be you would really take ownership of your life, ownership of it, and be like, this is my life. I'm the one living it. I'm going to do what feels good within my heart. And that's what they should do.
Yeah.
So what we're talking about is your current wisdom. Your current wisdom. This is what you are currently aware of because of this lifetime and what you learned from it. So when death is calling and you realize you are dying and you go through the grief process, the sadness process, you separate yourself from people you love and have gratitudes for, and you reconcile those, and you end up just you and the body. You go back, you process, what was this life about? And it is sad. You would be like, this was a tragedy. My whole entire life wasn't mine in any form. It was given to other people and given to this substance of food. And I didn't have a life really. But if you could start over and do it again, what you just described to me, that's what you should do today. Because that's what you would do if you did get a second chance. You'd be okay with who you are. You wouldn't devote yourself to other people. You would give yourself the freedom to just be a real person. You wouldn't take responsibility for someone else's approval, right? You would take responsibility for your approval. And then what do you need from someone else? If you approve of yourself and you feel good from within, what happens to your need to get approval from someone else?
It diminishes.
There's no point to someone else's approval. Whether they approve of you or not, it doesn't really make an impact. So you can get approval and it doesn't, oh my God, I got approval. No, it doesn't matter because you're like, oh, that's great. But I'm good with myself.
That would be wonderful to go to work and not worry about, think
here's the thing, don't you, do you have good integrity. It's not like you're at the heart of a malicious person who wants to, cause heartache. You don't. Right? So do you really need to change yourself beyond that so that someone else approves of you? It's not like you're a horrible person. You know what I mean?
I guess I didn't realize. I feel like a horrible person because of all the resentment and there is some blame there because the resentment and all of these, the binging, it does cause me to not really show up like I should show up,
Yeah, but you can forgive that. You've never really been aware of what we're talking about, and you can see, well, of course I'm not going to show up because there's so much pressure.
Okay, yeah.
And you can forgive it. And you know what? If you can let yourself exist and be truthful about what you are, not even knowing what that is yet, you just know, I'm a good person. I don't mean harm. I can rely on my integrity to guide me. I don't need someone else's approval to guide me anymore. I don't want to have to perform for someone else to approve of me. Do you really want the approval from someone else if it requires you perform for it?
No.
Me neither.
And I can find a job that's more appropriate to gratifying.
To what you love. Yes, what you love, what you enjoy, where it's a win-win, it's not a fantasy. We're not saying we get a fantasy job. We're just saying you find something more realistic for you. More realistic and more gratifying, maybe.
Yeah, more gratifying. More, something I can really put my soul into.
I love it. Yes, see, and so can you see where you're headed, where we're headed into? You're going to live again. You're going to start living for probably the first time in your life. In this life, you're about to start. You've been on pause for a long time, and we're about to push the start button. It's like we're born. But you've got all this practice and all this wisdom that you've gained. And you don't have to keep on doing the same thing if you know at this point, the way I've done this, it did not serve me well. It actually had horrible consequences, and I now am aware of what I would rather do differently. Well, why can't you just start that?
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. Go ahead.
Why can't you just start now? Why do you have to wait until you die to start and implement this wisdom? You have it right now. You're aware of this right now, Heather. Why do you have to just, keep on doing what you've been doing when you know you would never do this again? You don't have to. You can quit. Just quit. Put down your shields, put down your weapon, and just start as if you are that child that you want to give empowerment to. You want to empower yourself and empower this life from your heart. How would you want to relate to food moving forward? Would you use... Yeah, when you're hungry, you would enjoy it. I want to enjoy food, but you really want to have this relationship with anything, not just food, with anything. If you want anything to take over the power in your life.
No.
So that's awesome too. So you get what you've got to be able to do is set down food in those roles. You would don't enable yourself to go back to that behavior because you don't want it anymore. So you got to face the vulnerability of what you would have to face in your next life. You know what I mean? So you begin as if you are done with the old and you are beginning with the new, fresh start. You accept the body you're in. You give it so much grace and forgiveness because your previous life, you didn't know. You did the best you could with what you were actually aware of, and you killed it, man. You were amazing. You did a great job, but you didn't know any different, right? You worked hard. You tried hard. You really devoted yourself to trying to figure this out,
Right.
So forgive it and just go, you know what? I got an A+. I really do. Your heart and soul, it just was misguided. And you wouldn't do it the same way, knowing what you know now. So you can forgive it, give it grace, and you start anew. You start with letting your heart open and start telling the truth and being real and loving what that is. It's precious. You're the only one that's experiencing it. It needs to be precious to you. You want to have to wait for someone else to think it's precious for you to start thinking my life is worth it?
Yeah, that's crazy.
Right?
That's crazy. That's how I was thinking. Yeah, exactly.
So it's time for you to really take ownership and go, no, this life is the one I'm experiencing, and it is precious to me. And this body is providing me what I need, all that I need. I don't need it to be thinner. I don't need it. I'm just going to live in what it is. It can do what it wants. If it loses the weight, great. But if it doesn't, I'm okay too. Because I can forgive my past. I can forgive what I didn't know. I'm not going to do it anymore. I'm not going to continue that role with food. I'm going to refuse it. I'm divorcing those reasons. I will never use food again to promote myself or hide myself in any form. How's that feel?
That sounds good.
All right. My next client is waiting for me.
Okay.
So...
You got a full day ahead of you.
Well, I have one more client today, and then I'm then I'm going to have my weekend for myself, you know.